The Wounded Pool Man, the Zen story of water clarity. I had taken over my grandfather's pool cleaning service in the middle of summer, a time when the desert heat felt like an overbearing supervisor breathing down my neck. Except, without giving me a raise. The sun didn't just shine, it attacked. And day after day, I cleaned pools for rich people who were more concerned with the perfect Instagram post than with ever actually swimming in them. It was a losing battle, I thought to myself. It was as if someone had placed me in charge of fighting the desert itself. Wind, dust, and leaves, working together like the Avengers, to ensure that no pool remained clean for longer than 5 minutes. I hated it. Every morning, I dragged myself out of bed, dreading the monotonous tasks ahead. Brushing the sides of the pool, vacuuming the bottom, cleaning the filters. The true horrors hidden in those things should come with a warning label. And skimming the surface. The surface of the pool was always marred by the dust and debris the desert winds carried in, like some cosmic practical joke that the universe played exclusively on me. Why do I have to be the one who cleans up after nature? I muttered, as I fished out yet another soggy leaf. I swear, these leaves had personal vendettas against me. Each day felt like I was chasing my own tail. Except instead of a tail, it was a pool net, and instead of joy, it was frustration. I was overworked, hot, and perpetually one bad day away from throwing the pool skimmer in a customer's face. I even had a theory that somewhere, someone in the desert was growing trees specifically for the purpose of ruining my life. After another particularly grueling day, I sat down in my grandfather's small, cluttered office. I was covered in sweat, dirt, and resentment. A look that didn't quite scream Zen or pool cleaning expert, but definitely screamed, I'm about to quit. Grandfather shuffled into the room, a small man with the eyes of someone who'd seen things, like leaves falling into freshly cleaned pools for decades. His age was worn into his skin, but his spirit, for reasons unknown to me, seemed untouched by the misery that pool cleaning had clearly etched into mine. How was your day, Naoki? He asked, sitting down with a calmness that infuriated me. I sighed deeply, the weight of my decision about to spill out. Grandfather, I said, I'm going to quit. He looked at me, one eyebrow raised like a wise old owl who just caught its mouse in a bad mood. Why? Oh, I had reasons, a whole scroll of complaints that would make the ancient Japanese poets proud. It's pointless, I burst out. I clean the pools, and they're dirty again within hours. The wind blows dust everywhere. Leaves fall in like they're being paid to annoy me. I'm stuck doing the same thing every day, and it's driving me crazy. Grandfather didn't flinch. In fact, he smiled. A slow, knowing smile that made me question if he even understood the hell I'd been going through. You think you are the first to feel this way? I blinked, taken aback. No, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating. Every day is the same. He chuckled softly, which, under different circumstances, I would have found charming. Today, though, it was the kind of laugh that makes you want to scream. Awa Naoki, he said, you speak of entropy. Oh, fantastic. Now I was getting a lecture on physics from a man who considered watching the wind blow through trees in activity. The world is always moving toward disorder, he continued. But what makes you believe that your task is any different from any other in this life? I stared at him. Because my task involves literal dirt? Dirt in pools. Grandfather chuckled again and stood up, his posture straight despite his years. He motioned for me to follow him, and against my better judgment, I did. We stepped outside into the twilight, where a warm breeze brushed over the yard. The breeze, of course, carried leaves, because even nature couldn't resist getting in on this cosmic joke. He walked over to a pool and knelt beside it, his hands gently grazing the water. Look at the water, Naoki. What do you see? I squinted, unimpressed. A pool. The pool that I cleaned earlier today, and it's already dirty again. Ah, he nodded. Yes, but now consider this. Every time you clean a pool, you have the chance to heal it. I yelped. Heal it? Yes, heal it, he repeated, as if this were the most obvious thing in the world. The water is wounded by debris every day, much like our minds are wounded by the stresses of life. But when you clean it, you bring clarity back to it. In that moment, the pool is whole again. He paused, letting that sink in. I waited a beat, then said, "Grandfather, no offense, but it's just a pool." Grandfather smiled, that maddening, wise smile that probably worked on Buddhist monks, but definitely didn't work on a guy with a pool net in his hands. "Ah," he said, "but isn't life just life? Isn't a leaf just a leaf? Yet, we find meaning in them." I opened my mouth to respond, but realized I didn't have a good comeback for that. The man was making sense, and that was more unsettling than anything else. "There is a Zen koan," he continued, "that asks, how do you make clear that which is always unclear?" I was about to answer, but he stopped me with a raised hand. "No need to answer. Just think about it." We sat by the pool, the stars beginning to emerge overhead. It was a rare, quiet moment in the desert, with just the sound of the gentle breeze ruffling the leaves of the trees I had come to loathe. And yet, in that moment, something shifted. I could see the leaves for what they were. Small, inevitable parts of the world that would always find their way into the water. It wasn't personal. They weren't out to get me. The next day, I went to work like usual, but I tried something different. I imagined each pool not as an enemy, but as a puzzle, an endless riddle, a haiku paradox of sorts. As I brushed the sides of one pool, I thought about what Grandfather had said. The water is wounded by debris every day, but how can I heal it? I started to feel like a doctor, like a therapist for traumatized pools. The brushing became less of a chore and more of a soothing ritual. Skimming the surface? That was like clearing the thoughts from my own mind. Instead of grumbling about the leaves, I watched them drift lazily toward my net, like they were accepting their fate. "Come, leaf," I whispered to one as it floated by. "Your suffering ends today." By the time I vacuumed the bottom, I was almost enjoying myself. The vacuum made satisfying lines in the algae-covered tiles, like I was painting a masterpiece. Except my paintbrush was a clunky plastic hose, and my canvas was, well, someone's expensive swimming pool. As the day wore on, I felt something new. Peace. The work was still hard, the heat still unbearable, but I wasn't fighting it anymore. In a way, I was flowing with the job, like water. When I got home, I found Grandfather sitting in the garden, sipping tea like a man who hadn't worked a day in his life. "How was your day, Naoki?" I sat down beside him, wiping the sweat from my brow but feeling oddly content. "You were right," I said. "I'm still not sure I love it, but I didn't hate it either." He nodded, as if this was exactly what he expected. "And what did you learn?" I thought for a moment. That it's not about getting the pool perfectly clean. It's about the act of cleaning it, about being in the moment. I think I understand now." Grandfather smiled and patted me on the shoulder. "Good. Then you are ready to share your newfound insights with those that have a different background." "Hit me," I said, a little too enthusiastically. He then replied, "Let us go to the kitchen. There are dirty dishes that need your wisdom of clarity,